Okay, Riley. So this morning we're going to work on dividing fractions, building on what we did from yesterday, okay? So dividing fractions works a little bit different than multiplying fractions. To divide a fraction, we're going to do a trick called copy dot flip. I'll explain that in a minute. All right, so your first problem that we're going to do is 1/3 divided by 1/5. And so what we're going to do, we can't divide fractions like that, so we do this thing called copy dot flip, where you copy the first fraction just as it is, right? So just like that. And then for the dot, that means that we're going to be multiplying instead of dividing. And the flip means that we're going to be doing the reciprocal of the fraction. So Riley, what's the reciprocal of 1/5?
5/1.
5/1. So write 5/1. And now once you've done that, now we can multiply straight across like we did yesterday. So you're going to just do 1 times 5 and 3 times 1, and that's our answer. Now, that is a valid answer, but is it a proper fraction?
Improper.
It's improper. So the way that we turn that into be a proper fraction is you think about how many times does 3 go into 5? So how many times does 3 go into 5?
2.
2? How many times does 3 go into 5?
Once.
Once. And then with what left over?
2.
2. So we're going to write this as what? What's your final answer? 1 and 2/3. All right, good. So our next fraction, our next problem is going to be, ready? 10/15 divided by 2/3. So we're going to do the same process. We're going to do copy dot flip. So you're going to write down the 10 first, the 10/15 first. And then dot instead of divide. And then what's the reciprocal of 2/3? What's the flipped of 2/3?
3/2.
3/2. Good. Now, with this, do you remember doing cross-reducing yesterday? So when you cross-reduce, we look across the fraction, across the multiplication, to see if there's any pairs, any relationships. So 10 and 2, those are both even. What goes into both of those?
2.
2. So how many times does 2 go into 2? Once. So we're going to cross the 2 off and write a 1. And how many times does 2 go into 10?
5 times.
5 times. So you cross the 10 off.
Write a 5.
Good job. Yep. And then what about 3 and 15? Do they have a relationship?
Yeah.
What?
3 and 15 are both equal 5.
Well, they don't both equal 5, but
3 times 5 equals 15.
right. So then what can you cross the 3 off and write?
1.
A 1. And what can you cross the 15 off and write? Great. So now we've done all of our cross reducing. We know our answer is going to be the smallest it can be. And then now you just multiply straight across. And 5/5 equals 1 whole. Great job. All right, so our third problem is, ready? 5/2 divided by 9/8. Okay, so we're going to do the same process. We're going to copy dot flip. So you're going to copy 5/2. And then what do you do instead of dividing? multiply, so you do a dot. We do a dot, you could do an X, but in pre-algebra and algebra we use dots. And then we need to do the reciprocal of 9/8. So what's the reciprocal of 9/8? 8/9. Okay, so same thing here. Look to see if you can cross-reduce anything. Is there anything you can cross-reduce?
Yeah.
What?
2 and 8.
2 and 8. So what's the 2 going to turn into?
1.
A 1. Riley's on fire. What's the 8 going to turn into?
4.
A 4. Great job. And now what do you do?
Multiply.
So what's 5 times 4?
20.
Okay. And great. So 29ths. Is that reduced? Yeah. It's so, I tell all of my kids that 20 over 9 is a valid answer. If you wrote that on any test, that you would be correct. But it's not the cleanest answer. It's not our smallest, tidiest answer. So we can reduce it to get 20 over 9. So how many times does 9 go into 20?
2 times.
2 times. So write a big 2. And how many is left over? What's 9 times 2?
2.
Well, 9 times 2 is 18. So then you get 2 left over. So 2 over 9. Great job. Great job.